Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Freedom Frequency. So, from now on, this show will go live on Sundays at this exact time. Now, we're in daylight savings time here in Europe. So, it shifts a little bit. It's the daylight savings time. It's always so weird, like it's still like the same time, but our measure of time shifts. Like here, they go an hour forward. So, it's like, it's just weird. So, for people this week, for people like in the North Americas, for example, it will be at 12 at noon. But next week, I think in Canada and Americas, they also go into daylight savings time, and then it will be the same again. So anyway, it's kind of complicated with the daylight savings time. But here we are for another live, and today's subject of today's show is about ectogenesis. And I will explain all about it. I will go into it. It's linked to transhumanism, basically artificial wombs. And it's a very interesting subject. Kind of a little bit of a dark subject, but very interesting. And we need to talk about it because this is very important. But before I go on, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And I want to go into one little tidbit here before I launch into the main subject of ectogenesis. And that's about the digital IDs. Now, in previous shows, I've talked a lot about the digital IDs, the digital ID and digital money. If you haven't, watch my previous live shows on this. And people are worried that the digital ID will become mandatory. Now it's like with the thing like 5 years ago that they put in your arms, people look really worried that it will become mandatory. And some people even 5 years ago, just got it because if it becomes mandatory, just give it to me. They were like, just give it to me and I'll have it. Now they never made it truly mandatory. They made it really hard, but they never made it truly mandatory. And I think with the digital ID, it might be the same. And we get some pointers of that because I'm going to show you a clip of Keir Starmer where he says that it's not going to be mandatory, but if you don't do the digital ID, you're going to have to pay £85 each time you look for a job. You have to prove your identity. So they might be able to. They might do that. So they might know that they not can fully make it totally mandatory. Because if people don't want to have a smartphone, they don't want to have a smartphone. But then, it will cost more to not have it. But, see that there's always ways around it. And maybe the £85 that you will have to pay can be challenged. But anyway, let me play that clip here. I'm first going to say hi to a few people. So let me see in the chat. Say New Moon Creatix is present. For you, it's Sunday morning. Yes, for you, it's Sunday. But for us, it's evening already. Mix in the chat too. And Fire Within is also in the chat. Hi, Fire Within. So yeah, so let me play that clip here of Keir Starmer.
Completely flat out refuse to get a digital ID, yep. Will those people be fined?
No, there's no...
And I don't know if you guys see the clip, but I'm not seeing it, so I'll remove this and try to do it again.
Who may completely flat out refuse to get a digital ID, yep. Will those people be fined?
No, there's no... This is not something you have to carry or have to produce or anything like that, and there'll be no fining of people for not having it. It'll be something which simply makes life a lot easier.
The Prime Minister faced criticism for his digital ID policy, with some people accusing him of presiding over a nanny state. However, today, at an exclusive event, Keir Starmer clarified what the digital ID might actually mean for the public.
For people who don't have a mobile phone, then this isn't mandatory. So you don't have to have it. It will make your life easier if you want it, but you don't have to have it. We're consulting on what other forms of ID would help them. Again, it won't be mandatory. You can still use your passport or your birth certificate or your 3 bank accounts if you want, however many times. You can choose to pay £85 to a company to prove that you are who you are every time you need to. Or you can take the easy route, which is get digital ID.
So Keir Starmer claims digital ID is the easy.
So see, they make it the easy route, right? So it's like with the jabs in 2020. They never they never forced people to have it, but they made it really hard on people who did not take it. I mean, we were forced out of restaurants, bars, social life, travel in some cases. So, and some people gave in at that time, right? Some people say, okay, I'm gonna take the jab because, they thought it was forever. That's how they made it seem, and it wasn't forever, right? So with the digital ID, of course, Starmer, I'm not trusting any word that he says, not trusting him for his word, but I think it might be something like with the jab situation, like they're trying to really like scare you and push you to take it. But there was always a choice to like take a test. Although I don't recommend the test either or take the vaccine. I recommend not doing any of. Well, I personally wouldn't do any of those. But so it's really important to not let us be scared into submission. Like, oh, if I don't have the digital ID, I won't be able to work. I won't be able to rent. Like here he says, you'll have to pay £85 if you don't have digital ID, which is a lot of money, of course. But and maybe that can be challenged. So there's always a way. So let us not be too negative and too scared about this. We survived the crazy 2020 years. We didn't give in. So it is very possible. I'm seeing there's also Regina in the chat and Penny. Hi, Regina and Penny. Good to see you catching this live. So, hold the line, right? And I'm not afraid of digital ID. I mean, we basically already have digital ID. Like in Belgium, there's like something called It's Me, which is basically like a digital ID. I mean, I'm not really afraid of the digital ID. There's more concern about what conditions they're going to attach to it, right? And I went much more in depth on the digital ID in previous shows. If you're interested, I'm not going to make this show about the digital ID again. So there's a hold the line. There's always a way. And one last thing, I remember, for example, in when we were traveling in 2020, it was in the time of the pandemic, and I was flying back to Belgium, and of course wasn't vaccinated, and they said, oh, you have to take a test to fly back to Belgium. I was there at the airport. We were there ready to go. And the lady at the check-in, said, you have to have a test. And I said, no, I don't need a test. As a Belgian citizen, I don't need a test to fly back to Belgium. You know how crazy those times were? And she said, no, you can't get on the plane. And I was, of course, it was very stressful because I wanted to catch my flight, right? And I I stood my ground. I said to her, and I went onto the Belgian website, the Belgian government website, and I showed them, as a Belgian citizen, you don't need to have a test. And she didn't believe me. So, she blocked me from going on the plane. But I stood my ground. I said, no, you're wrong. I said, I am right. And then she did a few calls. She called her supervisor, and then the answer came back that I was right, so I could go on the plane. So if I just would have taken her word for granted, she wouldn't have let me on the plane, and I would have to come back like 3 days later with a test. So you have to stand your ground, because I was right, because I knew, right, because I had checked it before to be sure that I didn't have to take that test. So that's very, very important. So yeah. So anyway, on to the main subject of the show today. So this is ectogenesis. All right. So let's go. So what is ectogenesis? And let me bring up a little. Let me bring up this again here. So see, this is basically what is ectogenesis. It's the growth of an organism in an artificial environment, in the womb. So in an artificial womb. So here you see, for example, this baby in a robot, right? Of course, this is not real yet. This is a concept, but they're pretty close, and I'm going to expand on that in the show today. So ectogenesis is so the growth of an embryo or fetus outside of a living organism, outside of the mother's body. And the term was coined by the British scientist John Burden Haldane in 1924, and he was also connected to neo-Darwinism, which says that basically we are, which is neo-Darwinism is basically the theory of Darwin combined with genetics. The old theory of Darwin didn't have any talk about genetics because genes were not discovered then. So neo-Darwinism combines the theory of Darwin with the knowledge of genetics as we have in these times. So it's not a coincidental that this comes from a neo-Darwinist, in my opinion, because neo-Darwinism and Darwinism in general is very focused on the physical material reality. It doesn't consider the spiritual aspects of life. And I will talk about the spiritual aspects of ectogenesis at the end of the show. I will first go into more the physical things, the three-dimensional things, and then I will also go into the spiritual consequences of artificial wombs and growing babies in artificial wombs. But that's for the end of the show. So this comes from the neo-Darwinists, so this very hyper-materialistic scientists, basically. And and this stopped, so let me reload it and see if it goes back. So who is involved? And who would you think? Bill Gates, of course. So here you see in this article, so Bill Gates is involved in a company to grow artificial breast milk. So he's sponsoring a few companies. So Thought Up here, so Thought Up and Tired by New Mother and now backed by Bill Gates. Manufactured human milk sounds like the stuff of science fiction. So Bill Gates is backing this. No surprise there, of course, but because Bill Gates is part of the agenda, like he was behind the jabs, he's behind the digital ID. I speak that on my social media. You know, you can also follow me on my other social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, where I do on X, where I do regular posts about that. I just posted that Bill Gates is pushing this digital ID open source platform to all the governments. Basically, all the points of the agenda, Bill Gates is involved, and also with this ectogenesis transhumanist thing. So, and Firewithin says, of course, Gates. Yeah, of course. If Bill Gates is involved, it's the agenda. And Taran says it will be cool to analyze a song that is related to these themes. Well, I actually have a song. That's just funny that you say that, because I have a song coming up at the end of the show that is about that theme. Very interesting. So, so Bill Gates is involved in this, but there's some good news too, because this is an article from 2020, and if we look here in the beginning of 2025. Lab-made breast milk startup files for bankruptcy. And here you see here, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. BioMilk, a Bill Gates-backed startup, research in Triangle Park trying to create lab-made breast milk, has filed for bankruptcy. So see, their agenda doesn't always work. They also have setbacks. Why? Because it's not a natural thing. They have to really spend a lot of effort to go against the natural thing. They have to really push it on us. And I'm sure they will try again. Okay, they have almost unlimited money. They will try again. And this is often not talked about in the alternative news. They focus so much on the negative, but we have to focus on these positive news messages too here. So after 5 years, it has to file for bankruptcy, which is a great thing. And there was another great news this week also. Another Bill Gates-backed company, a fake meat company, is almost worthless after the stock plunges. So that was Beyond the Beyond Meat company. So they had a loss. Their revenue got down from like 500 million to 200 million. Like they had $150 million loss. So they had to sell a lot of their debt off, and their stock plunged. So see, it's not always working, their agenda. They encounter setbacks too. So that is really positive news. That is amazing positive news here. And that's something we also have to focus on, because we focus so much on the negative news, but we forget there are wins too, and this is a win. Like the biomilk that the artificial breast milk that went bankrupt. It shows that people don't want this stuff. They really have to push it on us, and they really have to change our minds and change our psychology for us to accept it, which they're trying to do, of course. But it shows that it's not working as well as they want it to work. So this is very, very, very important. So let's continue on the subject here. So in the Netherlands, and I'm going to show you a clip here. In the Netherlands, they're actually already working on a technology. A company in the Netherlands is working on a technology to grow babies outside of the uterus. Now, there's two aspects to this discussion. And on one hand, it's growing babies outside of the uterus from conception on, so totally out of the uterus. On the other hand, it's giving premature babies basically an artificial womb. Now, I think there's a big distinction here. I think, for example, to save a baby, like right now we have incubators, right? If a baby is born too early, they put it in an incubator, which I'm sure is definitely not optimal, but what do you do, right? Parents don't want to lose their baby, so they want to give it the maximum chance of survival, and they put it in an incubator. So if it is to save lives, babies' lives, I wouldn't necessarily be against an artificial womb if it, for example, is better than an incubator, which it probably is, because incubators kind of mimic the womb, but it's not the same because the baby is not in the fluid. So it's a very difficult and important spiritual and ethical discussion here. Because it's shown that incubators heighten the chance of survival for premature babies. And artificial wombs might heighten that chance of survival even more. But that is, of course, for babies who are already, months, who have grown for months. inside the woman, who had a big part of their fetus life or embryonic life as a being within the mother's womb, right? And only when they are born, they like prematurely, they put them in. That's a whole different thing than creating babies, growing babies totally in the lab, right? So that's a very important spiritual, personally for me, an important distinction. It's, do we use the technology to support, to save lives, or do we use the technology to make us basically transhuman? So let me play a clip here of this Dutch company. Now, a lot of these people are actually transhumanist, and a lot of these people don't only want to use it to save lives. They want to use it to basically, create babies in labs, totally in artificial wombs. Let me play that clip here. You're going to see here this woman wants to go further than just saving lives. She wants basically transhumanism. I'm going to play the clip right here for you.
About 800 grams, and the babies in artificial womb will be about 400 grams.
So half the size of this baby?
Half the size of this baby, yes.
I imagine further down in the future, an artificial womb could become part of a lifestyle choice for women, because you don't have to worry about the morning sickness, changes into your body. I think it could be very interesting for some people, like if you think about gay men. I feel like there's this narrative in society that there is this ideal of natural reproduction. Natural reproduction is not the only way.
I think it's a dream come true. It's almost like magic. And I hope that we use the knowledge and the technology wisely.
I don't think this will be a solution for women who are not able to get kids. I don't know what consequences are for the babies. We do nothing know about the short-term and the long-term implications. This project will take about 5 years.
So see here, so you got multiple viewpoints here. You got this one woman who says, it will not only be used to save lives. She wants to use it like for gay couples to have kids, for women to circumvent their pregnancy. Imagine how appealing that might be for some women. I mean, some women who don't want to carry the child, who don't want to go through the inconvenience of pregnancy. They can just order their child, give some DNA, and their child grows in a lab. I mean, this is crazy. It's insane. So this is what that woman wants. Then on the other hand, you have the scientist who says it's dangerous because we don't know what it will do to the child, right? And I will talk about that more at the end of the show, like psychologically, to be grown outside of the mother. It's that I don't think that's a good idea at all. I will go more in depth on that in the end of the show. So, and then there was this one woman you saw who lost a child because it was premature, and she said, if artificial wombs can help us save the children that are born prematurely, then that's a good thing. And I tend to agree with that. We need to use the technology in a way that technology can always, even if it comes from bad people that want to do transhumanism, even that technology can be inverted and used in a good way. I'm sure that AI can support us, right? It can be used for bad things, but it can also be used for good things. If the consciousness behind it is good, if the intention behind it is good, if the intention is behind it to save lives. So this is a very important distinction to make, because I don't think it's good to create a baby totally artificially in the womb and let it grow outside of the mother, the natural thing. I do think it's ethically more viable to a baby that's prematurely and to give it the highest chance of survival, for example, to put it in an artificial womb that is like an incubator, like they put babies in incubators. If that would increase the chances of survival for that baby. So there's two very different things. It's a natural baby that is inside the womb that is premature, inside an incubator or an artificial womb, or a totally artificial baby, and that thing is transhumanism, and that's what I don't agree with. That's what I absolutely don't agree with. So let me look at your comments here, because I was if I were in seems I have seen videos of babies growing in pots. Well, they probably already have it in super secret projects, but it takes a while for the technology to filter through to the public. Regina says 100% agree. Life-saving, yes. Human replacement, no. Exactly. And that's the line we got to draw. Like, it's okay to have, an implant if that's, if you're like a handicapped person or disabled person to get an implant. If your arm, for example, doesn't work and you get an implant to help you, if you choose to do that, that's fine. Or for example, a pacemaker, which is an implant too, for people to save people's lives. So if they get a heart attack, the pacemaker will start their heart again. I agree with that, but don't put chips into healthy people that do not need it to, like, make us connect to the cloud, because that's transhumanism, and that's the line where we got to draw it. And transhumanists want to obfuscate that line, because they not only want to, of course, there's a part of transhumanists that say let's use the technology to help heal people, which I agree with, but it always comes with that, okay, like Elon Musk said, we're going to put a chip in your brain and we're going to connect you to the cloud, which is dangerous and which will change the human being as a spiritual being, especially with artificial wombs. People sometimes think it's bad, but it can get a lot worse. If we start creating babies in labs, it can get, I'm not trying to be negative here, but if we start creating babies in labs, it can get a lot worse with the human race. So that's why it's so dangerous, in my opinion. And that's why we got to raise awareness about this, because they are going to try. I'm sure they are going to try. Regina says, this is so repugnant. We have to stop pretending this is about convenience. It is taking the human out of humanity. Exactly. It is transhumanism. Transhumanism says, we're going to improve the human being through technology, and we're going to create these life extension technologies, but it's actually, it's taking your humanity away. It's creating, like they say, a new kind of human being. Firedin says, being pregnant and birthing my beautiful babies was the best thing in my life. Exactly. It's the natural thing. Let what can be natural and what works naturally, and it works so beautiful naturally. I mean, how many people have been born? Billions and billions of people. How many humans have been born throughout the ages? Billions and billions of billions. And most of the time, it works really well, and there's no complications. Of course, you always have pregnancies, and a small percentage that have complications, but the human biology works amazingly well. It's the fact that most women do not have complications, right? Most women have beautiful pregnancies. So, and feel, I'm a man, I can't speak to that, of course, but and feel it is a very sacred thing. So let us trust our biology. Let us trust, our instincts. Why would we have to go the transhuman route on this? And Barbara says, that's how distorted we have become, that people can want this as a lifestyle choice. Exactly. If you're, as a woman, you're going to say, I don't want to be pregnant, I'm going to grow my baby in a lab. That's sick to me. That's like the the fast food society. But then when it comes to pregnancies, I'm just going to have it quick and easy. Put your DNA, grow your baby in a lab, but that's going to have disastrous consequences for the relationship between the mother and the child, for the psychology of the baby. I'm going to talk more about it. It's going to be disastrous. So let me play a clip here of a clip that's on YouTube, a concept. This is created by a company that thought out this concept already. It's called Ectolife. So I'm going to play this for you guys, how they really envision it. These lab-grown babies.
Introducing Ectolife, the world's first artificial womb facility, powered entirely by renewable energy. Ectolife allows infertile couple to conceive a baby and become the true biological parents of their own offspring. It's a perfect solution for women who had their uterus surgically removed due to cancer or other complications. With Ectolife, premature births and C-sections will be a thing of the past. Ectolife is designed to help countries that are suffering from severe population decline, including Japan, Bulgaria, South Korea, and many others. The facility features 75 highly equipped labs. Each state-of-the-art lab can accommodate up to 400 growth pods or artificial wombs. Every pod is designed to replicate the exact conditions that exist inside the mother's uterus. A single building can incubate up to 30,000 lab-grown babies per year. Ectolife allows your baby to develop in an infection-free environment. The pods are made of materials that prevent germs from sticking to their surfaces. Every growth pod features sensors that can monitor your baby's vital signs, including heartbeat, temperature, blood pressure, breathing rate, and oxygen saturation. The artificial intelligence-based system also monitors the physical features of your baby and reports any potential genetic abnormalities. The pods are equipped with a screen that displays real-time data on the developmental progress of your baby. These data are sent directly to your phone so you can track your baby's health from the comfort of your zone. The app also provides you with a high-resolution live view of your baby's development. A special section in the app allows you to watch a time-lapse of your baby's growth and share it directly with your loved ones. Because babies can recognize language and learn new words while still in the womb, Ectolife growth pods feature internal speakers that play a wide range of words and music to your baby.
So see, and it continues like that. So this is the, you know, like I said, everything has to be convenient. Everything has to be fast. Like if you don't want to go through pregnancy, you know, just you know, you can watch your baby grow in the app. And the AI will regulate it all for you. This is insane. And you know, this is a concept. This is still not reality, you know, officially actually, but I'm sure some women would fall for this. Oh, I don't want to go through pregnancy, you know, bam, just let it grow in a lab and you can watch it on your phone. But that is if humanity goes in that direction, that is the end. I mean, at least of that part of humanity, because that will lead to no good. That will lead to no good, as I will get into later. And it's you know, this might seem like science fiction to some people, but we have seen that science fiction always becomes reality. You know, we've seen it with movies like The Terminator. Right? Terminators are basically already real if you look at the robots. We've seen it with movies like, you know, 2001: A Space Odyssey, where you're talking to the computer. It's already there with ChatGPT. You can already talk to the computer and it responds to you. Science fiction is already a reality. You know, chips in the brain. I'm telling you, it can go a lot further, and we can't be limited by our imagination that it's science fiction, because any science fiction can become a reality. So we got to be very careful, and we already have to draw the line in the sand now. Like, we never do want this. So anyway, last week, so a few weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago, there was news in China for exactly that. So let me show that news article here. So here in China, robot with artificial womb could give birth to humans by next year. So a Chinese tech company is building a humanoid robot that can get pregnant and give birth. It has a synthetic uterus, fake amniotic fluid, and a plastic umbilical cord. The goal is to grow a baby inside it from embryo to delivery. No human body required. See? This is the transhumanism. This is what they want to do. And it's a very, very, very bad idea. So, coming back to Elon Musk, Elon Musk obviously is a transhumanist. He espouses transhumanist views, and Elon Musk is really talking about population collapse a lot. On Twitter, he posts regularly about it. And why does he post regularly about it? Because I think it's a precursor to artificial wombs. Like they said in the clip, the clip of Ectolife that I showed, where he's saying it will help countries with a negative population decline. So this is Musk, he's been saying it for population collapse is coming. And why does he say it? Because it is a kind of reason that the transhumanists want to use to start growing humans in labs. Because if we don't make enough babies, we're going to collapse. So we need to start growing babies in labs. That's their redination. Like here, there's another article here where he talks about it. Elon Musk thinks the populations will collapse. Demographers say it's not happening. Of course, it's like part of the propaganda, right? Population collapse. Why? Because then you can sell the artificial creation of humans. It's sick. And of course, human fertility is going down. because of all the toxic substances they put in the food. And that's why you got to be really careful with your food choices. All the plastics, the hormones, like the meme of Alex Jones, they're turning the freaking frogs gay, they're putting it in the water and stuff. So we got to be really careful with our food choices. And there's an attack on human fertility for sure, to create a transhumanist plan, to help further the transhumanist plan. That's why they do it. So, and talking about secret projects where they probably already do this, not on a mass scale, but in secret projects, there is a base called, it's like Area 51, but it's not as famous, called the Dulce base. And there was a security guard that supposedly worked there and that smuggled secret documents out of the Dulce base. And actually, the Dulce base, me and Mick, we visited it 2 years ago. We went there. We were driving past, and so let's do a little stop there in Dulce. It's a beautiful area, actually, in New Mexico. But under a mesa, rumoredly there is a human base there where humans work together with aliens, and they're creating like beings grown in vats and in artificial wombs there. And in the documents that supposedly this guy, I think his name is Benowitz, security guard, smuggled out, it looks like this. So in the documents there are like he describes it like this. So hundreds of these beings, which are like hybrid human alien beings in various stages of growth. Wombs look gray, looks dark, liquid amber color for the amniotic fluid. Looks about a glass tube, about 5 feet tall. So this is what he smuggled out, basically. These are descriptions of his documents. And then there was like a huge tank here. So womb submerged in yellow liquid, looks thicker than water. Creatures float in amber color water. Dozens of creatures in each womb. So there's also a different kind where there's multiple creatures in each womb. 3 fingers, 2 toes, not human, and they're like as big as a hand. So I'm sure they're doing it. I'm sure they're doing it in highly secret black projects already, where they mess with the DNA. Because with artificial wombs, you can actually create a baby made of 3 people. So it doesn't have to be a man and a woman. You can combine the DNA of 2 men, or you can combine the DNA of 3 men, or 3 men and a woman, and turn that into a baby. You can mix up the DNA. So it really goes into very scary territory, where you can just have like a baby on demand. Oh, like we're in a relationship with 3 people. Let's all 3 have a baby. I mean, it's crazy. It's great. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the spiritual and psychological aspects of this. Now, if you grow a baby inside an artificial womb, it will not be inside the mother's womb, which is a huge red flag. Because a baby grows inside the mother's womb. It's a natural thing. It provides, the growing baby, the growing fetus, comfort. The natural rhythms, the voice of the mother, the heartbeat of the mother, the natural rhythms, the natural systems, right? If a baby grows inside an artificial womb, it is cold, it is sterile, and that will have an effect on the psychology of the baby. They will not have the love. They will not be in the emotions of the mother, right? It will have an undeniable, very negative impact, in my opinion, on the psychology of a baby which has grown in an artificial womb, and especially in the spiritual aspect of it, because when a baby grows inside a mother, it's within the spiritual energy body of the mother, because we all have auras, right? And our aura is actually quite complex. We have different energy bodies. We have like our physical body, but we also have an etheric body. We have an emotional body. We have an astral body. We have a mental body. We even have higher bodies, actually. And now that I think of, I actually talk about that in my course. I give an overview of the. Oh, sorry guys, I want to load this up for a sec. Yeah, so I actually talk about it in my course here. 40 Days to a Higher Vibration, where I'm doing meditations for you guys, and a lot of information to work on your energy body. because it's important to take ourselves into account as a human, as a spiritual being. So in this course I present meditations to work on your energy body, because that's very, very important. And so it is for babies. Because they grow within the spiritual sustenance of their mother, that spiritual connection with the mother. If you take away that spiritual, that's very, very important, that spiritual connection with the mother. Because if you let them grow inside a lab, they're not within a spiritual body. They're not within the etheric body of the mother. So it will actually create a totally different kind of human. It will truly create a transhuman race. It will create a human which doesn't have a connection with the natural spirit, with the mother. It's such a bad idea. I think when you start doing that, it's going to create a totally different type of human being. Because the soul comes in through the womb, through the mother, right? Within the spiritual energy of the mother, will this raises all kinds of questions. Will normal souls even be able to incarnate in these babies, or will something else incarnate in them? Will they become like vessels for other entities? Right? It's very, very dangerous. And this is something mainstream science doesn't take into account, is the spiritual reality of things. This fact that we are spiritual beings, that we have an aura. If you take away that aspect from the fetus, from the pregnancy, and let it grow in a cold artificial womb, it's so bad. What's going to happen to the soul? I don't know. What's going to happen to the beings that incarnate in those babies? What kind of beings are going to incarnate in those babies, right? It's kind of very scary, but it's that's why this should really, really be approached with the highest ethics and the highest moral, carefulness, I would say. Like, be very, very careful. But transhumanists don't want that, of course. They just want to go ahead. They don't even consider the spiritual implications of this. So it's very, very important that the baby grows inside the womb. And of course, for premature babies, okay, they have to go into incubators, as already happens today, or artificial wombs maybe in the future. But okay, that's where it is. Okay, the mother, of course, wants the baby who grows inside a room to survive, right? So that's a totally different thing. A baby which goes into an incubator at a certain, like for example, at 7-8 months, and spends a little time in an incubator, that's a wholly different story. But that baby has the spiritual connection with the mother. That baby was conceived in the uterus and grew up inside the mother. Okay, then there might be, studies have shown that some babies who are put in the incubators can have more medical issues. I saw a study of that, but at least the baby survives, right? That's what the parents want, right? That the kid survives, right? If it's born prematurely. So if it's to help us, okay, but that's because the spiritual connection is there. It's birthed from the mother prematurely, but it's birthed from the mother, right? If it doesn't have a mother, that's really, really, really bad and very, very dangerous. And that's where we really have to draw a line in the sand. And these are issues that our society is going to have to face in the future, with technology that keeps on going in this age of Aquarius, with this crazy technology. So very, very important. And I have a beautiful pic here from Alex Gray that shows that kind of, that symbolizes that kind of spiritual. And I forgot to say something. They're actually pretty close, because they already did it with sheep. I'm going to show you guys here. So this is a picture of a sheep that has grown outside of the uterus. So this is it when it was, so on the left you see here when it was not as far developed, and here you see it when it was further developed in a plastic bag. So they can already do it with sheep. So this is insane. This is totally insane. Let me show that pic here of, where is it, of Alex Gray. I don't think I have it. He'll just let me. I thought I had it. Just give me a sec, guys. I want to show you that beautiful representation of Alex Gray of pregnancy, where he shows. I want to show it to you guys. I had it here, but it seems to be gone. Anyway, let me load it in again. So yeah, so Alex Gray has a beautiful way of symbolizing these things, and pregnancy is a sacred thing. So here I'm going to show it to you guys. If it wants to come up. Okay, it doesn't want to come. Okay, just give me a second, guys. I wanna show it to you. Here we go. Okay, it's there. So yeah, so see this beautiful picture by Alex Gray. I mean, I should have. So he shows like the energetic lines, the spiritual body. Here on the left and the right side, you see the different stages of the fetus. So first you have the egg, and then it becomes the embryo, and then it becomes the fetus, and it shows all these lines here that show the spiritual connection with the mother. It's very beautifully, very psychedelic, beautiful painting by Alex Gray. The father and the mother here in an embrace with the child inside of the body. And if you're gonna take this away, this is gonna be so bad. This is gonna be so bad if you start growing babies in wombs. So it's Regina says it's gross. Yes, absolutely. So oh, I can't. Okay. So yeah, so I'm at the end here. So I want to say one more thing here, and that's, in the beginning, I don't know who it was, I forgot, asked, is there a song about this? And actually, I had already a song ready for the end of the show. Now, I can't play this song. I would love to play it, to listen to it with you guys and to talk about it, but I can't play it because otherwise I will get I'll get a copyright strike on my live shows, and I don't want that. But it's this one here. But it's a song by Rammstein, and it's actually a pretty dark song, but it's a really good song in my opinion. I'm a heavy metal lover, and heavy metal, they sing about dark subjects. But if you're interested, look it up the show and look up the live version. So it's called Rammstein Paris Mutter. So it's written in German, Muttar, and it's a song about a man that has grown inside a lab. So it's basically about, and he's singing mother, and because he doesn't have a real mother, and he has a fake mother, and the song really symbolizes that feeling. Well, it's kind of dark, but it's very raw and powerful. He sings, in the song, he sings Mutter, like in German, and I think it's a really good performance because you can like hear the angst of that, of that boy that he sings about that doesn't have a mother. He like screams it out, mother. It's a power ballad actually. It's a slow tempo. It's an amazing. I'm not really that big of a Rammstein fan, but they have some good songs, and this is one of their best songs in my opinion. You should really check it out if you're into that. Maybe for some people it may be a little bit too heavy, but it's actually a power ballad. It contains really soft sequences too, but it's a very, very good song. It really, really brings forward that energy of what's it born. It's kind of dark, but really brings forward that energy of what it is to be born, like the hypothetical scenario of being born without a mother, having no mother. Really, it's very powerful. So check that out if you want to. Too bad I can't play it. I would love to listen to you guys to this song because I like this song. This is one of their good ones. So yeah, so that's it. So thank you everybody for watching. I will go much deeper. I'm preparing a lecture actually that's going to be a paying lecture. Where I go a lot deeper into human evolution. It's going to be like a 3-hour lecture with the ability to ask questions afterwards. That's going to be for the end of November. It's going to come on my social media, I think, in the coming week. And it's going to be live for the end of November. So that will be a closed lecture, a paying lecture. But it's going to go really, really in depth I'm going to talk for 3 hours on this subject. And then there's going to be questions and answers also afterwards. So yeah, so thanks everybody for attending this live. Also, thank you everybody for watching afterwards in the replay. And Fire Within asks, can you post a link to the song? Well, I'll try to post it right now in the comments here, guys. So let me see if this is going to work. Yeah, so I posted it in the comments. I'm sure you can copy paste it or click on the link then. So yeah, so Kio1 says another great show, Jens. Thank you so much. I like it that you guys enjoy my show. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Fire Within. Thank you, everybody. I forgot. So yeah, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you next week, Sundays, on another episode of Freedom Frequency. Thank you. Bye-bye.